Welcome to Eye on Horror, the official podcast of iHorror.com. And this is episode 41, otherwise known as Season 3, Episode 5. And I am your host, James J. Edwards, and with me, as always, is your other host, Jacob Davison. How you doing, Jacob?
Doing okay. Just been holed up the last week and a half or so.
Yeah, we're all under quarantine. We're all in California, but I think pretty much most of the country, if not the world, is on lockdown right now, but we'll get to that. Let's say hello to your other host, John Correa. How you doing, Correa?
Dude, pretty good. Haven't been under quarantine as long as most people. Like, I've only been under quarantine since Tuesday, but I mean, this is no different than most of the time when I have no work, because I approach life with a Howard Hughesian standpoint. Like, I'm just a few piss jars away from like going full Howard Hughes here, you know? But that's an average day off for me.
So your fiance is working from home.
Yeah.
My wife's working from home as well. So you learn a lot about someone when you hear just their side of like Zoom meetings and stuff. You're like, oh, so this is the professional Trish. It's pretty funny.
I've seen a few memes about that where people are like, oh, so I found out today that my husband is one of those, okay, we'll circle back to that in a minute type of people.
Yeah.
Luckily, I leave her alone. We're in separate rooms. She works out of the bedroom, and I mostly just am in the living room. So we keep. I haven't been driving her too crazy, but you know, there's been a few moments where it's just like, seriously, you're doing that right now? It's like, yeah, I felt like running across the apartment like multiple times. You know, like when dogs get the zoomies, that happens to me sometimes.
Our dogs are loving it. They're like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. You guys are both home all day. This is the best day ever. I mean, they love it.
Meanwhile, the cats are looking at you like, the fuck are you still doing here?
That's a meme too. Cats like, don't you have somewhere to go? Yeah.
I'm actually sad. I haven't seen my neighbor's cat, Black Phillip, in a few days. Oh. And I miss that little fucker. His name isn't Black Phillip, but I named him that.
Yeah, his name is Black Phillip.
Yeah, he is.
Because we have been on lockdown, there's not a whole lot of new stuff there is a whole lot of new stuff we've seen, just not in theaters because it's all... most releases have been canceled. Most screenings have been canceled. But one thing that we have all seen, and this was actually the last movie that I saw in a theater was the screening for this, is The Hunt. We've all seen The Hunt, right?
Yep.
I feel really bad for The Hunt because first it gets canceled because of Trump's dog whistle and they didn't want a theater to get shot up. Now it gets rescheduled, it gets re-released, and 2 days later, the whole country gets put on lockdown and you can't see it. Right. But they did release it for at-home rentals, and it's $20, which is that's a lot for a purchase, let alone a rental. But if you think about it, something that was in theaters or would be in theaters if theaters were a thing right now. Yeah. That's not really that big of a price.
No, especially two of the other big titles, they're not horror related, but Onward and the new Trolls movie are going to be doing that. And if you're a parent, if you're like two parents at home with multiple kids, $20 for like 4 to 5 people to watch it, that's not bad, because usually it's like $40-$50 to take your kids out to the movies.
That's the justification for it, is if you have a family, if you say a family of 4, that's $5 a person. Yeah. You can't beat that with a stick. I mean, not even on $2 Tuesday. Well, $2 Tuesday would beat it, but you would still, you need to get out there and there's the snacks. So, and I think that the big studios, because the indies have always kind of done this day and date thing where they'll release it on demand. Same day it goes into limited theaters. I think this is giving the major studios a little bit of a, like, this is, The Hunt is Universal, and they did it with Invisible Man as well. Invisible Man you can watch, you can rent on demand as well.
Which we highly recommend.
Oh, yeah. You really need to see Invisible Man if you haven't. That is easily worth the $20.
Yeah.
But I think this is the major studios are they're kind of testing the waters with this, because I have a feeling that's where the industry wants to go, which I will always rather see a movie in a theater.
Yeah.
But, there are some people who won't go to theaters.
Why not? There's free air conditioning. Like, that's usually my excuse is like, it would pretty much cost the same to run my air conditioner for that amount of time. I can just go to the movie theater and get it for free with my ticket,
And just, there's no beating the theatrical experience. Like, a big screen is always superior to a TV screen. And I feel like, I'm not exactly sure if this is going to be as groundbreaking as people are thinking. I mean, it's definitely a necessity in this time of the pandemic, so I'm not exactly sure where it'll go once things settle down, but I mean, for the time being, it's a welcome alternative.
Well, The Invisible Man, you can't, that you have to see in a theater, because there are a couple of legitimate holy shit moments that, unless you're in a group, they lose their effectiveness. There's no collective gasp like there is in a full theater.
Yeah, like me and John can attest, like we were in a sold-out theater for The Invisible Man, and during that scene, just everybody lost their shit.
Absolutely lost it, dude. It was... We all know the scene we're talking about, but there was also... It's also great, just like, because the position you're in and stuff, like sitting there, you're so engaged with it, you can't take out your phone, and like that's a problem. Don't get me wrong, I'm a huge physical media collector. It's the engagement. It's like deep listening to records. That's what going to the movie theater is.
Yeah,
but I think there's going to be some big changes happening, but we also have to remember that even though right now the theaters are closed and everything, they're going to come back.
Yeah.
And they still have a lot of pull when it comes with studios. I think there's going to maybe be a shortening of window with major releases going to video on demand or rental places, but it's hard to predict right now what's happening. I'm seeing so many reports coming out about how things are going to change and what's happening, but we won't know until we get further into. We're only a week into this, and there's some reports saying that it'll all be gone by April. It'll all be done by July, August. And
then there are other reports that say that schools won't be back in session till the fall.
Right.
So, I think it's going to be somewhere in between. I don't think it's going to blow over in a couple weeks, but it's not going to be. I think that the schools that are out for this semester, all the colleges. My wife actually works for SDSU, and I think they're done for the year. I don't think that they are going to come back before fall.
In terms of theaters, I was talking to a friend of mine, and when theaters do reopen, they may experience a surge of business.
I think they will.
Yeah, because did you guys ever see that episode of South Park where Cartman bought his own theme park, but he wouldn't let anybody in, but eventually he had to pay for the upkeep, so he decided to let a few people in at a time, so the park became hugely successful, and so other businesses started not letting people in so that people would want to go there more. So I feel like it's kind of like that. Like, people will be denied going to the theater for so long that as soon as they reopen, they're going to rush to them. You
don't know what you got until it's gone.
Exactly.
So, and now, yeah.
And you know what? They should. If there's one thing that I want to at least, and I know you guys feel the same way, want to get across, is just remember, right now we're a lot of people are pretty good with being quarantined, at least in being entertained. There's a lot going on. I know I'm out of work. I just applied for EDD again. And, there's a lot of people out of work. But as far as being entertained, we're pretty good because we got all these streaming services. We have all this content. Just remember, people, that there's people whose jobs, that's their job, is creating that stuff. I work in television and film, and I don't have any work for the foreseeable future. And so just remember, the way we can have more of these movies and TV shows is by going out and seeing them. Go to the theaters once everything opens up. Once the CDC says it's okay to go back outside and whatnot, go out and do it. Go out to the movie theater. Get out of your house.
I have a lot of friends who make their living as stagehands and soundmen and lighting guys for live concert tours and festivals. Those guys are freaking out because basically their entire spring has been canceled. Yeah. I mean, all the festivals and tours are getting canceled, and these dudes are like, how am I going to pay my rent? How am I going to feed my dog? I mean, it sucks.
That's my sister too. My sister does stagehand work, so all of the festival, she's like, hey, so I'm not coming out to work on Coachella now. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of obvious. You all right?
Because there is no Coachella now.
And I worked at a theater, and we're shut down until things settle. So, yeah.
But it'll blow over, and hopefully, like you said, people will come back in droves and, come back stronger than before. And hopefully, I know that people have been getting laid off from like restaurants and stuff. And I think the reason they're doing that is so that they can collect unemployment, and then they'll all get hired back when the restaurant will be. At least I hope. I hope these restaurants aren't just firing their whole staff, but I don't know. We'll see. But enough about this. Let's move on to The Hunt.
Yeah.
What'd you guys think of The Hunt?
I thought it was fun, and actually it was one of the last movies I got to see in theaters before everything got shut down, because the Egyptian was doing a pre-screening show with the writers Damon Lindelof and Nick Kuhn, and the Q&A was, to put it lightly, incredible, because they talked about the whole experience with what you brought up, that the president tweeted about The Hunt when it was supposed to come out last year. And the other big factor that they talked about was also that the marketing or release was around the same time there were those mass shootings in I think Wisconsin and
it was Dayton and El Paso.
Yeah, Dayton and El Paso. Basically, those shootings combined with the president's tweet basically created a perfect storm of bad publicity, so they decided to shelve it for a while. But it was a fun as hell movie, great with a crowd, and socially slicing. So and just amazing cast too. Like I'm just amazed at what the cast they assembled.
And at the risk of spoiling anything, a lot of the big names in the cast were cannon fodder. Yeah. It's like, it's so crazy. You're like, you have certain people in the cast and you're like, oh, and these are like top billed people. And then you're like, oh, wait a minute. Did they just die?
Yeah. Yeah.
They also had McCoy from Streets of Fire in it. She was in it. She was the lady in the gas station.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was so upset when Lindsay caught that before I did. She's like, is that McCoy from Streets of Fire? I just went, are you fucking with me right now? How did you catch a Streets of Fire reference before me? God.
I did not realize that.
Yeah.
I enjoyed The Hunt for what it was, which is basically the most dangerous game with teams, playing the game. Its satire is really heavy-handed, which kind of was a negative for me. I wish that it was a little more clever, but the final battle is epic.
Oh yes,
it is the final boss battle at the end of this movie is it's one for the ages.
Some John Wick shit,
terrific.
And that's the other thing too. Gilpin, like she is by far the MVP of the movie. Like she gave
easily
just a Nicolas Cage level of acting in the film.
Oh, I love Betty Gilpin. I've been a big fan of her from Glow and other projects. But and it was funny because I read an interview with her not too long ago where she said she's loving what she's been able to do with Glow and the opportunities that's being given to her with it, because she says, I'm a weird person, but I keep getting typecasted because I have big boobs and I'm pretty. So she's like, I'm liking that I'm now able to explore these more weird characters that I want to. And that's all I could picture throughout the movie, because she's just making the weirdest faces. And it's the best thing. Like she just has these like weird reactions to stuff in the movie, and it just works so well. Like it is kind of very Nick Cagey, but like much more subtle. Like I just watched Color Out of Space, and wow, was Nick Cage full blown. I think Richard Stanley told him to tap into what he did for Vampire's Kiss is what I read, and that's very obvious that that's what he was pulling with that movie. But yeah. She made The Hunt very fun. It wasn't anything great. There was no real great commentary, and that's what I kind of liked about the movie, was that it was political, but it wasn't saying like this type of person is bad, this type of person is bad. It's just, hey, I think like what was the moral of the story is like it goes back to like if you believe in something enough, it becomes real, like if you keep saying stuff is like, that's what it does. And then I was like, okay, that's cool. But it was a fun time. Like, it's definitely interesting to see the final product after so much controversy. And then you watch and you're like, it wasn't that controversial. Like,
yeah,
that's a question I actually had for Jacob. Did the writers say anything about? Was it recut?
No.
No. Okay, so they released it as it would have been released in September.
Completely unchanged.
Wow. Okay, because I had heard that it had been recut, but no one had any receipts to back that up. So they just basically shelved it and released it. Okay, well that's kind of good to know that they didn't backtrack on it. They're releasing the vision.
No, they
awesome.
Stuck to it, and they just wanted to make a movie for the modern times.
That it is. Speaking of movies for the modern times.
Yeah. Let's get to this. Sorry.
Another one with a commentary.
I like the hunt, but I'm way more excited about this next one.
Yeah, let's talk about the platform.
Yes!
Yeah. This came...
Sorry,
okay, I have been excited for this movie since it premiered at TIFF, and there were like all these rumblings, and I think it went to Fantastic Fest next, and people still were like, oh my God, the platform's amazing. It's amazing. And then Netflix bought it. So we've had to wait for like months, but it finally released. And the platform is
so good.
It's pretty incredible. The premise of the platform is basically they're in this prison, and it's like, what you don't know from the beginning how many levels there are, but
like
there's two people in each. Yeah, there's two people in each level, and they send a platform down with food on it. So, of course, level 1, and the platform stops at each level for, I think, 2 minutes, and then it goes to the next one. And you can't save food off of it. You can only, so you eat for 2 minutes, and then it goes to the next one. So, of course, the people on the top levels, they eat well, and by the time it gets to the bottom, there's, just bones and scraps and stuff.
Not even the bottom. It's like once it gets to, they say
halfway.
very early on, there's over 200, and like when it gets to like, not even 100, there's like nothing. Like even the bones and stuff are gone. So there's like a couple hundred floors where there's no food.
Yeah, and those people, some of it's predictable, some of it's not, but they have to fend for them because every month they put all the prisoners to sleep and switch levels. So if you are one of the starving levels, you may end up on the top the next month. And it's such a biting... I think it's a little unrealistic and I say unrealistic, meaning the analogy isn't quite as effective as it could be regarding class mobility. But just the fact that the battle between the haves and the have-nots and the attitudes between the two is so biting.
It's so good.
So smart. Yes.
Because like the platform comes up through the middle of this hole, and like very straight off the bat, like the guy tries to communicate to the people on the lower level, and his roommate's just like, oh, fuck those guys. And he starts just pissing on them. There's so much piss and fecal in this movie. It's kind of hilarious.
Oh yeah, a lot of bodily fluids.
But they try to communicate to the people above, and they react the same way to them. They're just like, oh, fuck you. They start like, defecating and stuff. But like, I think it is a great core analogy of classism. It might not be about upward mobility within the class system, but it definitely reflects on the attitudes towards him. Because even like he's like, so what happens if you're on a lower level next week and they're above you? He's like, then they'll shit on me. That's just how it is. And I thought that was awesome. And they also have like little rules in there, like if you do save something, they'll make the room very uncomfortable until you get rid of the food, or if you can bring one item with you. So some people, like the main character brought a book with them because he's like, okay, I'm going to take this time to quit smoking and read books. Other people came with like weapons, and I think there's
one woman brought a dog.
One woman brought her dog
with a surfboard for some reason.
Yeah.
They show, when there's a point where they go down the line and you see people like, there's one guy with a surfboard, which is like, why did you need to bring that?
Yeah.
But it's awesome. Like it's really great, and I highly recommend, because I know this happened to James, and it started happening to me, and I was like, fuck this. But it automatically starts with the English dubbing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I highly recommend shutting that off. Go to its original European Spanish and just watch it with subtitles, because it is so good. Obviously,
I watched it in what I call Godzilla mode. It was the English dubbing because at the time I couldn't figure out how to change it, and I didn't want to waste too much time because I was too excited to see it. And the difference between Spanish and English isn't too vast, so their lips almost lined up. So it kind of looked like a Giallo movie where they were dubbing English over Italian, or possibly like a Godzilla movie. But it didn't take too much away from it. But if I was able to change it easily, I would have, and done it subtitled.
And remember, the platform is now on Netflix, so
yes,
everyone can watch it.
Netflix bought it. You can watch this on your quarantine.
One of the things that's been getting me through the quarantine is Shudder. I love Shudder. And what I love about Shudder is there's a lot of different stuff on it. And one of their new exclusive releases is this new horror film called The Room. No Tommy Wiseau or Captain Marvel in this one. Have you guys seen this yet, The Room?
I have not, no.
Not yet, although I saw the trailer and it did look very interesting. It had a very neat concept.
Well, the concept is this couple buys this really old, really nice house where they've discovered this mysterious room where if you want something that's material, it will appear if you wish for it in this room. The thing is, though, there's a bunch of like rules and stuff tied to it. I don't want to spoil too much because it is a very interesting concept, and they do a lot of bring up a lot of interesting points with it. It's a little bit of a monkey's paw with like a few other things, but I just couldn't get into it. And like I said, I really like the concept and a lot of the stuff that was going on with it. But I feel like it was just like the direction and the acting, and it really kind of put like a damper on the whole experience for me. I still would recommend it to people, especially if you're looking for something to watch that makes you think a little bit about, because it's one of those fun movies where you walk away and you're like, okay, what would you wish for? What would you do with that? And there's of course limitations and stuff like that with it, but ultimately it just didn't work for me. I can see the praise that people are giving it. I just not my thing, I guess.
I got a screener from IFC for something that is already available for rent as well. It's called Swallow. Have you guys heard about Swallow?
Oh, I know about Swallow.
Was just talking about that with Lindsay. Yeah.
Oh my! Have either of you guys seen it?
No.
It's not really horror.
The concept sounds horrifying, though.
But it is pretty horrifying. It's about a woman who, the short version is she swallows things. That's how she copes with. She's in this not really abusive, but neglectful. It's like emotionally abusive marriage. Her husband's pretty much a dick. And the way she copes with her life, she swallows things, like marbles or jacks or like a battery. She just swallows shit. So
it's My Strange Addiction, the movie.
Yes, it's very much. It's something like that. Yeah, and it's kind of. I mean, I don't want to go into because they put her into therapy and she figures out why she does this, and it's kind of like a disturbing movie. It's not really horror. It's more the ideas that are messed up than the movie itself. But it is, it's crazy. That's and you can. I think I've seen it for rent on Vudu. It's one of those day and date things. If it was going to hit limited theaters, which it probably isn't now, it's probably all, rental now. But yeah, Swallow. It's an IFC release, so eventually it will probably have a Scream Factory release because IFC does their things through Scream Factory.
Yeah,
cool. Yeah, it's been on my list. Like I've heard a lot of talk about it, though. Admittedly, it just sounds so horrifying to watch.
There are parts of it that are pretty. I mean, not really gross. It's just like uncomfortable. You're just like going, like she'll pick up like a thumbtack. And you'll be like, oh no, don't. You know what's coming, and you're just like, no, I don't want to see this. I don't want to see this, but I do. It's like,
but I do.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's available to rent right now on Vudu for $6.99.
Oh, that's a bargain too.
That's less than a movie ticket, guys. Go stream it.
Support the arts.
Support the arts.
Yeah, and I wanted to get back on what Jonathan was talking about with Shudder. Like, Shudder's been definitely a good resource in social distancing times now. Like, last Thursday, they did a live watch of the movie Satanic Panic, which just dropped on there by Chelsea Stardust.
Nice.
I saw it at Beyond Fest last year, and it was one of my favorites. But yeah, it was just fun to live stream and, just kind of get that connection with the horror community, even, just watching a movie at home. So, live tweeting about it and talking, and Chelsea starred as the director, and some of the actors also were tweeting or writing about it while watching the movie. So, yeah, I really got to give props to Shudder to, doing something like that now.
Have you guys heard about this movie Greenlight?
No. It sounds familiar.
There's a little bit of a controversy about it because even though his name has been seemingly stripped off of the whole thing, Eric England's company produced it.
Oh,
yeah.
I remember now.
There was there was some accusations thrown at him earlier, so he kind of got canceled. But Greenlight, and that's what I found interesting. Greenlight is basically about a filmmaker who he's like a guy trying to break into directing, and he gets his big break from this shady producer, but the break comes with strings. That's all that you need to know. It's one of those, the producer expects things from him. And it's a serviceable movie. Carolyn Williams is in it, which is, it's always good to see her. But it's a serviceable movie, but it's, I just thought it was interesting that they have pretty much, and I don't know if they did this for the good of the film, because I think he was just a producer, although I seem to remember Eric England getting a story credit or a writing credit, but all that's gone. They're not even, I think that they're basically trying to sterilize the movie of his name to help it find an audience, because there are people who basically will not even mention his name, Yeah. So, but I just thought it was interesting how they seem to have scrubbed him off of the whole thing. And it's available. You can rent that in the same way you can rent Swallow. It's on Vudu.
I do want to give, for doing various streaming services and what's good on them, shout out to Amazon Prime for not only having Freeway on it, which... If you know Freeway, I'm talking about the 90s Freeway with Reese Witherspoon and Kiefer Sutherland, where it's like a 90s exploitation rendition of Little Red Riding Hood. But they also have Freeway 2, Confessions of a Trick Baby, starring... I fucking love this movie so much. So I had so much fun with it the other day. But yeah, Confessions of a Trick Baby, starring Natasha Lyonne, and Vincent Gallo is in it too. David Alan Grier plays a really confusing role in it as her lawyer, but most notably also John Landis plays the judge in this movie. And this movie is so bonkers, and it's not a sequel, but it is a continuation of the idea of taking classic fairy tales and putting them through the filter of 90s exploitation. But this movie is basically Hansel and Gretel meets Ken Russell's Whore.
Oh, God.
It's not exactly horror, but there's some really, if you're really into exploitation stuff, there's some really ridiculous things. Like, instead of leaving breadcrumbs to find their way back to the train when they hop off and stuff, they leave crack rocks to find their way back. So of course, crackheads in the woods are gonna pick up all the rocks and stuff.
Yeah, just like the birds are gonna pick up breadcrumbs.
Exactly. And there's just the whole weird and confusing third act in Mexico. I don't know, man. It's just, they're just so weird movies. But hey, if you have Amazon Prime, they're free on Prime Video right now.
Let's we've been kind of flirting with it, but let's just move into our topic this episode, which, in case you haven't noticed from us dropping where you can find all this stuff, it's streaming services.
Yeah.
We've kind of made a point of letting you know where you can find the stuff we've been talking about, because none of it, you can't go to a theater and see it. And so we wanted to just kind of talk about what our favorite... I think I could safely say, for the horror community in general, Shudder is king.
Yeah. Yes. Number one.
Absolutely.
Yes, because Shudder, for the price, you can't really beat it. They've got, the selection of classic and then new stuff and then original stuff. Horror Noir, I think, was on all of our lists last year.
Creepshow.
Creepshow TV show.
Not to mention that they pick up the rights to stuff real quick. Joe Bob Briggs, huge fans, of course, here.
Yep.
But they pick up the rights to a lot of really good horror very quickly. And they put them up there. They've had
the hip horror stuff, too. Stuff that, I wouldn't be surprised if something like Swallow ended up there.
Or Color Out of Space, I'm sure is going to drop
Color Out
there
of Space,
soon, right?
I'm positive will end up on Shudder. Yeah.
yeah. It's RLJ did that, and they do a lot of their films on Shudder, like Mandy and Satanic Panic, I think. But yeah, no, like they just add Satanic Panic.
And Mayhem.
Oh yeah, and Mayhem, that's a good one.
Can't recommend Mayhem enough.
It's the perfect movie for this situation because it's about a quarantine, and it's got Stephen Wen kicking wholesale ass.
And Samara Weaving. Yeah, Samara Weaving. If you couldn't get enough of her kicking ass in Ready or Not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, but so everybody knows about Shudder, and we've gushed about Shudder. What are some of the others that you guys are all about?
I have to say, I know James kind of disagrees with me a little bit, but Hulu Plus, I just like that you can go to a category.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you can eventually get to it, and they have just A to Z. Because a lot of like the big ones.
My problem with Hulu is I have trouble navigating it. The service itself, I think they have great content, and especially TV wise. If you like TV shows, they've got a lot of great TV. I just have trouble navigating it. But I mean, that's probably just my fat thumbs and not being where I want things to be. So I don't really have. I mean, I don't disagree with you that it's a great service.
Well, I just like, because a lot of them, what they'll do is like Netflix especially, I hate it, where you can't just go to horror and then just go A to Z what they have. It's always like, oh, do you like this type of horror? Do you like this? Which Hulu does too. Their subcategories are very thorough. But like, I just like the A to Z because I just want to scroll through everything that they have. And you can't really do that with Netflix anymore.
But at least we figured out how to turn off autoplay on trailers for Netflix.
Oh, yeah. I hated that. Oh, yeah, I hated that.
But Hulu also just, is now doing all of FX shows on there. So all of American Horror Stories on it, all of The Strain.
What We Do in the Shadows, the TV show, they got that.
Yep. What We Do in the Shadows is on there, and it's going to go straight to their day after. So that's awesome.
Yeah, season 2, April 15th. So stoked.
Let's not forget The Exorcist and Scream Queens is on Hulu, so watch the shit out of those shows, guys. I know you have time. I know you have the time.
Even if it's just background noise while you work from home.
No, you have to pay full attention to The Exorcist. Scream Queens, when Chad Radwell pops in, you're going to be too distracted to work.
Yeah. And also, I've been enjoying the Into the Dark series on Hulu.
Yeah.
It's like the anthology movie series Blumhouse does on Hulu, where every month it's a different movie based off of a different holiday. And admittedly, some of them hit or miss, but there have been some fun ones. Like I like the first one with the body. It's a Halloween one, and Satanic Panic director Chelsea Stardust did one for Mother's Day called All That We Destroy. That was really dark, really intense. And they just released one for St. Patrick's Day that was pretty cool. It's called Crawl. It's kind of like an alien invasion / bar crawl horror action comedy type thing. And so, yeah, they've got some selections there and some interesting original content.
We know about like the ones, like Prime or Netflix, the ones that, the big ones, Vudu, which is, they do have a free section, but it's mostly purchases and rentals. But every week I do my Tightwad Terror Tuesday column where I go through if you're a cheapskate, if you're a tightwad, there are a lot of freebies that you can go through. And I think the best one of those, and I'm totally going to steal Korea's thunder because I know he wanted to talk about this one, but I'm going to let him after I say Tubi TV.
Yeah.
Tubi is cool.
Yeah. I mean, there's ads and stuff with it, but Tubi is pretty dope. Like, I think I saw they had the complete Masters of Horror series on there.
They do.
Which is awesome. I fully support it. Does it have Fear itself as well?
I don't think it has Fear itself.
Because
I don't think so.
Look into that.
And something I found on there was that they've got like the entire Full Moon Pictures library, like every Full Moon movie. I watched so many of the direct-to-video stuff.
Sorry about that. Sorry, Charles Band, for trashing Full Moon for a moment.
Well, because Full Moon has their own streaming service as well, but that one is one you have to pay whatever is $5 a month for. But another freebie that there is Popcorn Flicks. Have you guys ever surfed around Popcorn Flicks? No. That's another one that is doesn't quite have the selection of Tubi, but it's cool. It's more of the same. It's a lot of the same titles you'll find everywhere, but they're there. And another good one is Crackle.
Oh yeah.
Crackle has what I like about Crackle is a really strong interface, a real robust interface, but Crackle is owned by Sony. So it's mainly just all Sony titles, which, I mean, it is cool because you get, like the Underworld movies are usually on there, and both Hollow Man are on there.
Why? Stop. We told you to stop recommending Hollow Man 2. Why do you have to keep doing this?
But
if you do it again, there will be consequences, James. There will be consequences.
But yeah, Crackle's another one of those free ones that that is out there. So you don't, you don't need to shell out to get these, and more importantly, you don't need to pirate this stuff.
Yeah. That's the thing, folks. There are so many, like, especially if you own a Roku, there's so many free streaming channels. And they cater to specific niches. There's Grindhouse Theater. There's Cult and Movies ones. There's one that I found where it's all just public domain movies, and it's just got all these classic like 35 millimeter films that are just like not owned. There's an entire Alfred Hitchcock section.
If you own a Roku, look up the Vidmark channel, download that channel onto your Roku. The Vidmark channel is awesome. It's got all of, horror and non-horror. It's got all of these great things, but also it has all 3 seasons of Monsters.
Yeah.
What? Remember the show by the Tales from the Dark Side creators?
Yeah.
Oh my God. And it's on Vid. So anybody who has a Roku, it's free, and there are ads, but it's free.
Called
Vidmark.
Vidmark. Okay.
The Vidmark channel. Oh, there's no excuse to not have it because it's free and it's got so much fun stuff like that. That has Masters of Horror as well. I don't know if it has Fear Itself, but if anything was going to have Fear Itself, it would probably be the Vidmark channel.
Yeah, and similarly, Vudu has a free section. Like, they have a bunch of movies you can watch for free with ads. Like, they got like all the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, classics. I'm looking right now. They got Phantasm, Misery, and they also got some other stuff like Snake Out of Compton.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that movie.
Yeah. They switch those out frequently, though. If we say, the Nightmare on Elm Streets are on there and someone listens to this in 2 weeks, they might not be. But that also means, check back with the Vudu free section frequently. But I think they generally tend to switch them out at the end of the month.
Right.
But sometimes they switch it out in the middle, too. It depends on when their free license expires. But, yeah, Vudu free. I mean, and again, they're with ads. Every 15 minutes, you've got to see, something for some insurance company or something. But
hey, take a pee break. Take a pee break.
And honestly, yeah, that's the thing. The ads, you can't fast forward like you can in the movie.
Nope.
You have to actually watch them.
But, hey, if you're not too upset about ads either, Pluto TV is pretty dope as well. It acts as like a cable channel, like with on-demand and stuff, so they have constantly streaming channels, and there's something for everyone on it. There's like most of it's like internet-based stuff, so there's some channels on it, like Comedy Central has its own streaming site on it, and there's some channels that are to specific TV shows, like there's a whole channel of just RuPaul on loop all time, and Dog the Bounty Hunter, which I didn't realize there was that many episodes of that show. But they also have a lot of horror channels. The Asylum has a channel on it, so if you want to see Snakes Out of Compton, I'm sure it'll be on that. But more importantly, they have 2 channels that I always watch on it, which is the Mystery Science Theater 3000 channel and the Riff Tracks. And those are constantly playing. But if you don't want to watch what's just playing on the channels, they do have a pretty decent on-demand selection as well of horror titles and other titles on there. I think also right now they have a James Bond channel, which isn't horror, but, there's people out there that like James Bond, right? I think there's a few. Yeah, I hear he's kind of popular. But again, there's so many great streaming services that are either cheap for a monthly rate or come with like an ad, and really there's no excuse to be pirating during this time. I get it, we're all in a very weird situation of public health and financial crisis, I feel it, but guys, don't pirate movies. Watch a 15-second ad.
If anything, this is a time to support the arts more than ever.
It shouldn't take a pandemic for us to say don't pirate movies, but we'll say it anyway.
It also shouldn't take a pandemic for people to wash their fucking hands, but
Oh, yes.
Don't get me started on soap hoarders. It's like, okay, all the soap in the world won't help you if the guy next to you doesn't have any, because everybody needs to
Also, toilet paper? Come on, guys. Listen, because of the quarantine, I ate some Lucky Charms, so we're running out of toilet paper real quick here.
Oh man, it was great. Like Josh Safdie, one of the Safdie brothers, that did Uncut Gems. A few days ago, he posted some footage of like people assembled around a big block of toilet paper packages and started taking them. And he subbed in audio from Dawn of the Dead.
Oh, of them ripping apart the
Except it's just like instead of zombies ripping apart a dude, it's a bunch of people ripping apart a large package of toilet paper. So yeah, George Romero was a prophet.
Yeah, which again, that was at Costco, and like one of those things of toilet paper would last me a year, and people are grabbing like 2 or 3 of them. Like,
the first guy in that clip takes one package and walks away. I'm like, oh, dude, you rule. You need toilet paper. Yeah. But there are the people who've got like they're loading up their kids with them, and they're buying the place out. It's like, I mean, just this summer when this whole thing blows over, check the yard sales. People are going to be selling those packs of toilet paper.
It's funny you mentioned that because a bunch of places are saying now they won't accept refunds for stuff like that, so they'll be screwed.
And they shouldn't.
Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, horror among anything has prepared me the most for this type of stuff because, like all the George Romero stuff. But I mean, just today I saw a clip of a couple like loading up an entire truck full of like toilet paper, napkins, and tissues and supplies, and telling everybody to fuck off. Like,
I saw that too.
Oh man, it's insane how insane people are getting.
Which, like, I understand. I understand panic. I understand panic buying, especially, which is what we're discussing. Yeah. But just remember, get what you need and get out, because really you shouldn't be out that long during this. Yeah. And so just get the essentials, get what you need to get by, and then leave enough for the next person, and that's why I think the platform being released right now is perfect for this, because the whole point of platform is that platform has enough food for everybody if they only take their portion.
And there's one character who actually tries to get everyone to do that. Here, this is what you need for your caloric intake. Take this and leave the but of course
no one listens to it.
Well, the people on the top floors are like, fuck you, bitch,
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, just like, look out for each other. And, we can't do a whole lot with a podcast, but I hope with today's episode, it makes you go, hey, I should, rent that movie for $7 instead of pirating it. Because again, if it's you and whoever is in your quarantine bunker, your quarantine buddy, you split that cost between the two of you, it comes out to what? If there's 2 of you, that's $3.50. That's fucking nothing. All right. Yeah, you buy this one, they buy the next one.
And let's bring it back to some levity. If you have kids, Disney Plus has some surprisingly, I mean, none of it is like Dawn of the Dead style horror, but they've got like The Black Hole was the first thing I watched when I got Disney Plus, and that movie, I mean, for a kid, that's pretty horrific.
Oh yeah, it scared the shit out of me when I was a kid.
The Tron movies are there, which aren't really scary, but they're just a visual feast, But it has like Escape from Witch Mountain or Escape to Witch Mountain. It's got the Witch Mountain movies. It's got Return to Oz, which has nightmare fuel scenes.
I mean, love that movie.
There's stuff on. So if your kids have a Disney Plus subscription, when they go to bed, look around. There's some cool nostalgia shit on Disney Plus that you'll be into, and and it's not all Frozen 2 and Moana. It's I mean, they have all the Star Wars and Marvel too. So
and let's not forget that Disney Plus also has Mick Garris's first movie, which was Fuzz Bucket.
Does it?
It has Fuzz Bucket. Remember Fuzz Bucket? Look that up. The movie about the invisible creature.
I've never seen it. I'm gonna have to look it up. Fuzz Bucket.
Dude, it's so weird. It's about this like little creature that is invisible, and he befriends this 12-year-old, but no one else sees him or believes in him. And he's just this. Look up the picture of Fuzz Bucket and tell me that isn't some like weird nightmare fuel.
I'm gonna watch the movie. I'm not just gonna look it up. I owe you after Hollow Man 2. I'm gonna watch Fuzz Bucket.
Hey.
You know what they have? I've been surprised with Disney Plus. It's like that movie 10 Things I Hate About You where Heath Ledger and Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Robin and the Joker are buddies in high school. That movie, and I'm like, I don't know if that's a Fox. I'm not sure why that's on Disney Plus.
I think it was like a Touchstone, or it was like one of their subsidiaries from back in the day.
Somehow they own it because it's on Disney Plus, and that's a great movie. I mean, I'm going to lose my horror card saying it, but I love 10 Things I Hate About You.
How could you not love that movie? Granted, the one line that always pops in my head the second someone mentions it is when Heath Ledger's like, "What's up with this girl? Why does everyone want to be with her? Does she have beer-flavored nipples?" It's such a weird line, because no one likes the taste of beer. They like what beer does to them. But also Gargoyles. If you want to bring it back to horror, Gargoyles is on Disney Plus, and it is uncut. They put the controversial episode on it, and they did not remove any of the stuff that was removed from Disney for years, i.e. the episode where a gargoyle accidentally shoots someone. It's really cool. And honestly, there are a few times where I'm like, damn, this show is pretty freaking dark for being on Disney. Since we're talking about Disney, I'm censoring myself. Yeah, it's pretty freaking dark, guys.
And they also got all the Simpsons episodes, including all the Treehouse of Horror episodes.
Yeah. But do they have the Lisa, It's Your Birthday Michael Jackson one?
I'm not sure. I didn't check.
I'll bet they don't.
Yeah. Probably not.
That one you have to pull the DVD off the shelf for. Because they can't take that back.
Yeah, again, that's why we need physical media.
Yeah, which I have been doing pretty decent. I didn't mention any of the titles because we're trying to keep it to stuff that you can stream. But I've been making a pretty good dent in my have not watched yet Blu-ray collection.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm pretty proud of myself. I finally watched Men and Chicken.
What?
The Alamo Drafthouse film from Denmark that stars Mads Mikkelsen.
Oh, wait. Yeah, I remember that. It played at Beyond Fest a few years ago. I never actually saw it, though.
Oh, if you guys can get a copy for cheap, I found one for cheap on Hamilton Books. Let me tell you, that movie is weird as fuck. It is basically... Yeah. I can swear now because we're not talking about Disney. It's fucking weird. Like, that movie fucked with my head so much. I think on the cover it describes it as... what was it? It was Something Meets Island of Dr. Moreau. And it's absolutely it's really good. It just is so weird. It's such a weird movie. Like, I can't stress enough how fucking weird this movie is. But it is phenomenal. Definitely, and it's weird also because I'm so used to Mads Mikkelsen being in stuff like Hannibal and The Hunt. The one from a few years ago, not the new Hunt, where he's just like this very suave, very, Mads Mikkelsen is a very attractive man, and then just to see him play the exact opposite character in Men and Chicken, like absolute, like opposite in almost every way, is just hilarious and weird. So that's my recommendation. Go to hamiltonbooks.com, buy some books, buy some Blu-rays. I think they have some 4Ks for pretty cheap right now too, but definitely pick up Men and Chicken.
One thing, and actually I'm curious if either of you have seen this. And I watched this on Shudder to bring it back to streaming. I finally watched 3 from Hell.
Oh.
Either of you guys watch that?
No. Yeah, actually I watched it on Shudder as well.
I was a little disappointed because I love Devil's Rejects. Devil's Rejects, I think, is Rob Zombie's masterpiece. I'm kind of hot and cold on the rest of his movies, but Devil's Rejects, I think, is a masterpiece. And 3 from Hell is not. It's not.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it... I feel like it might have been a different movie had Sid Haig been able to be a bigger part of it. I think that they knew going into it that he was not going to be as big a part because they kind of gave his role to Richard Brake, kind of.
Yeah.
But it was a little disappointing.
I think the big problem was that the tone wasn't really as consistent because like House of Thousand Corpses is more wackier and Devil's Rejects was far grittier and more inside with like the 70s exploitation influences, but this one was a little all over the place. Like it had it had the wackiness of House of Thousand Corpses while trying to maintain the more grounded grittiness of Devil's Rejects, and it just didn't quite mesh as well.
Also, they pulled a Misery on getting them out of that shootout at the end of Devil's Rejects. You're like,
true.
You know, it's like at the very beginning, there's like, and all three survived. Like, although they did not survive that. Yeah. These three would not have been taken alive. They would have gone down in flames. Yeah. So anyway, and so that kind of, it started off on the wrong foot for me.
And that's my question, because it is so ridiculous just to even say that they survived that. Is it at least serviceable to the two previous? Like, I'm not asking if it's great, but is it at least serviceable to make up for that ridiculous like backtracking of such a great ending? Because like I'm with you there. I am very hot or cold when it comes to Rob Zombie movies, except for Halloween. I'm very warm, very lukewarm, like when you just peed in the pool and you're just sitting there in your own piss, warm piss type of warm, you know.
I would actually love to see Rob Zombie direct someone else's script, because visually he has a style, and I love he knows how to make a movie. I'm just not convinced he knows how to write one. I think that it may have been, you know, the stopped clock for Devil's Rejects, because although Lords of Salem, I also did enjoy.
I love Lords of Salem.
Yeah, Lords of Salem. So maybe, you know, hey, the stop clock is right twice a day.
Yeah, that one I feel is very underrated, because, you know, he did go a bit more muted on that, and I really like kind of the surreality to it, and, you know, kind of the, how do I put it? I don't know. Just it's a bit more out there than a lot of his movies, and I really dig that.
All right. Anything else that we want to talk, or we out?
I just want to say to you, everyone, we all know Netflix is great and has found this great niche of true crime limited series, but be careful not to go too far down that rabbit hole of just watching those constantly, because that will really warp your head. Like, don't just go straight into Don't Fuck with Cats to Tiger King to, you know,
what's the one about things. the bomb around the guy's neck? Was that
Evil Genius.
Evil Genius. I was gonna say Brilliant Mastermind. No, Evil Genius.
I'm just, this is more just my concern for some people I see on Facebook. You know, you know who I'm signaling you out, but I'm not saying names. Just calm down a little bit. All right, I'm a little worried. It's a bit much. But, hey, Tiger King looks really good, so I am probably going to watch that. Yeah. But hey, in moderation, guys. In moderation.
Do Not Fuck with Cats is a tough one.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't actually show the video that fucked with cats, but they show enough of it for you to know what happened, and it is...
Yeah, same for Evil Genius. Like, they kind of show...
They show that bomb go off. They kind of cut at the right place, but it freaking shows it. And that I was surprised.
It was like it was like angled, you know, like they showed it from two different angles, so you don't exactly see it, but still, it's just it.
They show you enough for you to fill in the gaps, and that one's horrifying. Okay, cool. Well, let's get out of here. I think we've given you enough ammunition. Although you may have your own favorite streaming channels. Yeah. What do you like? I mean, Shout Factory TV's got one. IMDb TV's got one. What do you like? Snag Films? Do you like Viewster? Let me know where. Let us know where you watch your streaming, because if it's one I've never heard of, I'd love to hear about it. That'll give me more ammunition for my Tightwad Terror Tuesday column. So let us know if we've forgotten yours.
That reminds me, I've watched a lot of Mystery Science Theater 3000 on Shout Factory TV.
Yeah.
Yes, they do have. They have, and they've also got a cool. It's like The Vault, something like that, where they'll show the movies, but it's from like a VHS aesthetic.
Oh, yeah.
And that's kind of fun, too.
And they got a bunch of Corman titles on there, too.
Oh, yeah. Titles. Well, they have the license to Corman, yeah. Although a lot of those Corman titles you can find on YouTube, even. YouTube, there's another one. And Vimeo. Go to Vimeo and check out. You can find stuff on Vimeo, too. Green Fog is on Vimeo. You know, that movie from a couple years ago where the guy basically told the story of Vertigo, but through other San Francisco movies and TV shows.
Anyway, that's dope.
That's on Vimeo. Look that up too.
Also, Electric Boogaloo is on Vivo.
Oh, I know. Yes, and
Story of Canon.
So is Not Quite Hollywood. That is on it as well. Yeah, so there you go.
I can't recommend Not Quite Hollywood enough, except if you're like me and you watch something like Not Quite Hollywood or Horror Noir or Electric Boogaloo, it quickly turns into a shopping spree of just like collecting titles from it. I still have like 8 or 9 Blu-rays I imported from Australia because of Not Quite Hollywood I need to get through.
All right, let's get out of here. Our theme song is by Restless Spirit, so go and give them some love because they probably need it. That band usually is on tour. I'm pretty sure they've had something canceled because of this, so help them out. Our artwork is Chris Fisher, and I'm sure that he's had stuff fall through, so give him some love as well. Where can we find you guys on the Twitters? Jacob?
You can find me at Jacob Davison _. That is at JACOBDAVISON _. And you can also find my writing in the Dead Time Stories podcast on iTunes and Google Play if you want to listen.
Yep, and listen, you should, because what else are you doing with yourself besides watching movies? You got plenty of time to dive into that. Korea, where can we find you?
Hey, so you can find me on Twitters and Instagrams at Korean Barbecue. That's CORREIANBBQ. You can also find me on Stardust, the short film review site under iHorror. We have a page there, and I've been doing pretty decent on putting up a lot of videos on there recently, just because I have nothing else better to do than to talk about what I just watched for 10-15 seconds. And one final recommendation, not horror, but Mooch Goes to Hollywood is on Amazon Prime.
Oh, yes.
Highly recommend that.
Yes.
Watch it with your kids. Watch it with your quarantine buddy. Watch it with everyone, because Mooch is love. Mooch is love.
Mooch is here.
All right, and me, James J. Edwards, you can find on Twitter at CinemaFearite. That's like verite, but with fear, so it's FEARITE. You can find all three of us at the Eye on Horror Facebook page, the iHorror Facebook page, or at iHorror.com, which is where we all call home. So happy streaming, and we'll all come out of this the other side, and we'll all go to the movies again. So for me, James J. Edwards.
I'm Jacob Davison.
And I'm Jonathan Correa.
Keep your eye on horror.